we woke up, we got breakfast in Bayeux, and we went to go see the Bayeux Tapestry. So that's at the Bayeux Tapestry Museum. It is a gigantic, I want to say 75-meter long tapestry. It's almost 1,000 years old.
That is incredible.
And it describes the events of William the Conqueror, the Norman that basically conquered England and took over and that sort of thing.
Hello and welcome to the Worldwide Honeymoon Travel Podcast, the podcast that talks about all things couples travel, including destinations, tips, advice, and more. I'm Chris.
I'm Kat.
And this is episode number 239.
And I'm back. I'm back, baby.
The people missed you.
Yeah, I mean, again, we record every single week, so it's not, or
By
we
meaning
have
the
episodes.
people, I mean myself and Professor.
Yes,
We
cat.
missed you.
I missed you guys too. I really did. And now Professor wants pets as we're recording. But yeah, I was gone to Normandy. I went to Normandy and
Where is that?
in France.
You go to France?
Oh, stop it. Get out of here. But it's been a pretty big week. Because I just got home from Normandy and in France, as you will recall, Christopher.
Do you like France?
I do. Yeah, I have a whole blog about it. And it's so close to getting 50,000 sessions a month. And
Oh my
I can,
gosh.
get on Mediavine. I think it's at 47,000 sessions right now. I'm so proud of it. It's like my Christmas market posts have started to boost it a little bit more. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed,
Congratulations.
by either late this year or I can apply for Mediavine.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
congratulations.
that was my goal before the Olympics, was to get that. But
Before what year of the Olympics?
2024.
Oh, okay.
Like the Paris Olympics, as you know.
I do.
You know that we're going to?
No, I know. I just didn't know if you were 2032.
Yeah.
Where are the Olympics in 2032?
I have no idea. I don't think they know yet.
What if I become kind of like an Olympic guy?
Like as in a professional athlete or like a person who's just really into the Olympics?
Quite honestly, with my athletic prowess, both are within reach.
I don't know. You may have aged out of a lot of Olympic sports at this point.
That is
You
humbling.
old man. No, I'm just kidding.
Hold
But
on. If
that's
you
because
had
they're
to...
usually between 16 and 20, mid 20s are most athletes' ages.
That's true.
I mean, some of them are maybe 30 or so, but
If you had to give yourself if you had to say, this is the Olympic sport that I am going to qualify for in, say, 4 years, okay? What is your Olympic sport that you think you could, the closest you could get? With the caveat of
What
neither
kind of
one of us could do
delusional-
anything.
I was like, what sort of Delulu are you on right
A
now?
Delulu?
Yeah.
Neither one. Obviously we can't do this, right? These are incredible athletes. But if you were to be look, I'm going to give myself 4 years and then I am going to try out for blank.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm not good at sports with balls, so those are all out. I run, but there's no way I would be an Olympic marathoner by any
What about
stretch.
a sprinter?
I
If everyone could have seen your face, just the eyes getting big and that comic exhale. You do not like sprints when we do sprints together.
I'm too afraid of heights to do diving or anything.
Okay. What about I'm trying to think of something
I
here
think
for
you'd
you.
be good at ping pong.
That was going to be mine.
Yeah. Oh, badminton. Maybe badminton I could do.
Badminton would be a lot of fun too.
Yeah, badminton I could if I get the hand-eye coordination going.
Hold on.
Perhaps I still absolutely not. I would never be able to qualify. But that would maybe be the sport that I would have the slightest wisp of a sniff of a chance to get.
I'm going to lower that chance to 0. Based upon
100%.
Well,
I'm
hold
talking
on.
negative 1,000.
No, I know, but I just based upon your statement of, if I can really get that hand-eye coordination down, it's not even if I could get my serves down or if I could really learn the sport. It's, if I could just get my hand to do what my eyes think it's going to do.
I don't know.
I would say ping pong for me, just because that's
You're pretty good at it.
I'm 0 0%
I don't
chance.
think you would be. I don't think you're that good at it.
I am not that good at it. I'm
Fighting.
very good in like our family's basement.
Yeah. Against people that also casually play ping pong once a year.
Right. But
Yeah.
that is what I would give myself. 0% chance I could ever qualify for the Olympics. I am really excited for that.
I had a cousin that was very, very close to the Winter Olympics figure skating.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a guy that I knew in college who is running for India, and he is trying to, I want to say in the 5K, and he is trying to qualify for the Olympics, but like an incredible athlete.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you would have
really,
to be.
Yeah, like he
Good for him.
like his mile time is in the low 4s.
Yeah, that's that'll never be me, and that's okay.
That'll
I'm more
never
of a
be me
solid
either.
like 10-minute mile. That makes me happy. That's like because I'm not trying to like run for speed. I'm just trying to run because it's nice. It relieves some anxiety and stress, and I can like listen to music or podcasts or whatever. That's
Okay.
yeah. That's sort of. I'm not going for an Olympic gold by any stretch of the imagination.
Neither am I.
Even my goal from every race that we've ever done is to finish and to try not to walk at all.
Those are good goals.
And that's usually it. Not finish first. No.
So this conversation like leads me into something else, which is, and I know that this goes around every time the Olympics are on, but the Olympics need to include like a drawing of civilians, right? So that Christopher from Cleveland all of a sudden is competing against these other people so that everyone can't watch these from home and be like, oh, that looks so easy. No, it is not. Look at how terrible this guy from Iowa just did.
Christopher's about to get humbled quickly.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I always think that would be hilarious to do. And I also think that it would be good for perspective. But, I mean, I'm but a humble spectator.
I will say that, like, the Olympics are always fun. It's always fun to cheer on your team.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Olympics are one of those things, kind of like the World Cup, where like the whole world comes together.
Yeah.
And like it's just such like a beautiful event.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
Well, anyway, aside from the Olympics, what else? What other highlights happened this week?
We celebrated 5 years of marriage.
We did.
That was wonderful.
It was. We, on Friday, when our anniversary was, we opened up a time capsule we made on our wedding day that we want to open every 5 years. And it had a bottle of wine from 2006.
Yeah, it was a really good bottle of wine.
It was very, very good that we split. It had like our invitation, stuff like that. A few corks from memories we've made.
Yeah, like our engagement, our first Christmas together, our wedding day. Yeah.
And then we had photos. We wrote each other notes for the future to open on 5 years and our vows. And we reread our vows together. And I just sobbed. It's fine.
I did too.
I know.
Yeah.
But it was very, very sweet. And then we made dinner. I made the cheese board and Christopher made paella. And I snacked on cheese. And I picked up a cake from the bakery where we got our wedding cake from. So it was good.
It was very nice.
It was very nice.
It was.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
What are we talking to? Well, do you have anything else? Oh, do you want to say a highlight from
I would
this
say
past week?
that was a pretty big one.
Hold on. I beat France.
Yeah.
Just marriage beat France.
Yeah.
Wow. This is...
I do love you.
I know you do.
Yeah.
Well, I need to change
more than France even.
I need to change my highlight then.
No, my other highlight was coming home and like I always love when like because I usually check a bag home coming back from France because I stock up on things. Your mustard, notably.
Not my mustard.
No, I get a bunch of mustard and beauty products and different things, but I check a bag and so you meet me at baggage claim and I always get so excited trying to find you. And then I found you and I ran up to you and that was really sweet getting to see you again.
I will generally try to hide.
Do you?
Yes, I always...
Remember the time you picked me up wearing your Stetson?
I do.
I
was thinking about doing that again, but I didn't.
I'm thankful for that.
I was going to pick you up in a bathing suit. I was going to wear my toucan bathing suit and my toucan polo.
I was going to say, I don't think you can just show up at the airport without a top on.
No, and I was going to wear my Stetson. And I was going to be like, Catherine. But I decided not to.
It is what it is at this point.
You know?
There's no changing you.
No, but I was trying to hide behind the column. And then
you weren't paying attention and I found you.
I wasn't paying attention and you found me.
Mm-hmm.
But yes.
And your mustard came home intact.
My mustard.
And the Dijonnaise. I bought a mega bottle. Okay, so I just go to any old grocery store whenever I'm in France because Amora is the best Dijon mustard ever. I feel like you get it at restaurants. It's really good. It's just so good. So I always get 2 big jars of that to take home. And then their Dijonnaise. They make a Dijonnaise too, which is a Dijon mustard mayonnaise mix. Also very delicious. And we had 2 bottles of those. The second bottle's almost gone, so yes. I was like, well, we're not going back to France until April. So
that must be so difficult for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to run out of mustard in between then. So I stocked up and bought a ginormous thing of the Dijonnaise and then the 2 big bottles of mustard because we go through that a lot because I make salad dressing with that and
we make some good sandwiches with it
really
too.
Good mustard, I love it.
Yeah.
It's even better than my and Edmund Fallow.
Well, there you go.
Those are good Dijons too.
Yeah. So your highlight was mustards, cloaked in our anniversary.
Yeah.
My highlight from this past week. I mean, it was absolutely celebrating our anniversary. It was really cool to go through the time capsule. It was really neat to read the vows. Because I remember how nervous I was. I was nervous that I wasn't going to be able to put what was going on in my heart and in my mind on paper so that I could make sense of it all and not just be like, I love you. And
You did a great job. I cried. Yeah. I think you caught a few tears from the audience as well when we were getting married.
Well, it was.
I think a lot of people were crying by the end of it. I don't want to brag, but we had a fantastic wedding ceremony and a fantastic reception. It was so much fun.
It was a lot of fun. But yeah, I just going through those pictures and reading the vows, reading the cards, it just really brought me back to that day. Mm-hmm. And I remember how much I was building it up and all of this kind of stuff. And then as soon as we had our first look, it was you let the air out of something and all of a sudden I was able to ground myself again. I was at peace and it was I was so anxious and everything because I wasn't next to you.
That I felt that way too. And I'm sorry for the long intro and stuff. I promise we'll get to the episode. But I remember that morning I got up at 5 that morning. I just couldn't sleep. And my sister and I did a Rent the Runway dress for the rehearsal dinner. So we dropped that off. We started getting everything ready for breakfast. The makeup artist came, the hair, because I had the bridesmaids sleep over at our apartment and Christopher slept at his best man's place. And, there were so many people coming in and out of our place that day. My family, my dad with all the flowers, all of the bridesmaids, the makeup artist, the photographer was a little bit late, so I was starting to stress out. I almost forgot to put on my jewelry because we had to take photos, and then as soon as we had finished taking photos of us in our pajamas and stuff with bridesmaids, they were like, all right, get dressed, and we're going out the door to where we're taking photos. And I was so stressed. There was just a lot going on. The house is a mess because there's makeup everywhere, hair stuff everywhere. I'm just making sure the professor is okay because he's going to be by himself now with all this stuff everywhere. And I was just so anxious and everything was running behind. And so we finally get there and I was I just want to see him because I have to hide from Christopher and stuff too until our first look where we wanted to capture that. And it was the second you turned around during our first look, it was just immediately I was all right. It doesn't matter what else happens this day. I'm just really excited to marry you. Oh.
That was really sweet.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
On that note, let's get into Normandy.
Yeah. So, I did not go on this trip.
Someone had to stay behind to watch Bubs.
Someone had to stay behind.
No, I'm just kidding.
Tell me what the episode is going to be about.
So we're going to actually talk about how to spend a week exploring Normandy, France. And so we've talked about Provence, which is a very popular place to spend time for a week and road trip around. We've talked about Paris, which is a great place to stay put and explore. But I was very excited to get the chance to go to Normandy because I wanted to show, like, both on France Voyager and on the podcast, that while most Americans tend to think of Mont St Michel and the D-Day beaches,
Yes.
for Normandy, and that's pretty much it. But Normandy has so much to offer that I was very excited to go check it out and talk about it. So my sister and she tagged along with me, and we rented a car from Paris. And we set out on a 7-day road trip around Normandy and then starting and ending in Paris.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This was your first time in Normandy.
It was.
Where is Normandy? Like, set the scene for us. And don't just say in France.
In France. So Normandy is kind of like, so you see Paris, right? Like, you put Paris as sort of kind of like north central bit of France.
Yes.
So Normandy is actually not that far from Paris, like to begin getting into Normandy.
Okay.
Monet's Gardens, like Giverny, that is literally in Normandy.
Okay.
It's very, like barely, it's like in Normandy, but it's not far from Paris. And a lot of people go and see that as a day trip. But I don't, like, it's...
How far of a drive was it from Paris?
I mean, to get into Normandy, maybe an hour.
Okay.
Like, so in Emily in Paris, when she's like, Camille is freaking out that oh gosh, what's the chef's name? You watch it with me.
Oh gosh.
Gabrielle. When Gabrielle is moving back to Normandy, I was like,
Antoine.
Normandy's not that far. Like, I don't know where he's living in Normandy, but like, it's not that far. It's okay. You're going to be fine. So yes, I went to Normandy. It's not that far. It's in the northwest of France. Okay.
Okay.
So Brittany is going to be the furthest northwest of France, but it's basically in between Brittany, then you have Normandy, and then you have like the Ile-de-France and like the northern France where it's going to butt up against Belgium.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So
it does.
So it's along the English Channel up north.
Okay.
Okay. And then it does border the Ile-de-France, which is the region that Paris is in.
Awesome.
Yes.
This was your first time there.
Yes.
What were your thoughts prior to arrival? What motivated you to go to Normandy?
I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Elise, who I have known since university, since college, because Deauville, which is a town in Normandy, is a sister city to Lexington, Kentucky. And so she's from Deauville. She studied in Lexington at the University of Kentucky because of the horses, and like Deauville's very much known for their horses as well. And I remember meeting her because we lived in the same dorm, and she would always say, especially anytime I went to France when I was studying in France, all that stuff, she was like, go to Normandy, it's fantastic, I love it, that's where I'm from, like, it's an amazing place. And I never got to go during my study abroad, and then I just the other times I'd visited, I just hadn't gotten the chance to go. And so when it came time to it this time around, I was like, I really want to go to Normandy. Elise has said so many wonderful things about it. She's talked about how there's lots of sandy beaches in Normandy as opposed to the south of France. Most of the beaches there are pretty rocky, except for Cannes and like a few select places where they have sandy beaches. But Normandy's known for its sandy beaches. It's the apples, so it's cider. It's known for its limestone cliffs. Horses, different things like that. So I was really, really excited to go. And I wanted to share that there's more to Normandy than what most people think.
Okay.
Because again, most people think, especially Americans, going to Normandy, D-Day beaches, Mont St Michel.
Okay. What were your first impressions? So not like as soon as you enter Normandy, but like you're settled, you're like starting to explore what, you came from Paris. So what are your first impressions when compared to Paris?
It's a lot of farmland. There's a lot of cornfields in a lot of places. It's pretty flat. There are some hills and things like that as well. But we did get stuck behind tractors. but it's beautiful. It's gorgeous farmland. They're beautiful. There are cattle everywhere. You see horses. So it almost reminded me of driving in Kentucky, because Kentucky sort of sometimes has the flatness and the rolling hills. It has horses, the cattle farms. It sort of reminded me of going back home in a way. So I can see why Deauville was a sister city to Lexington. But it's a beautiful countryside. The people there are so much more warm and welcoming. Not that Parisians are mean by any stretch of the word, but I mean, there's always select rude people everywhere in the world. But I feel like people there were much more open and welcoming. And again, not everybody speaks English in Normandy versus like Paris, which I wouldn't expect. It's France. It's their country. So knowing a little bit of French certainly helped, but I think people were pretty warm and welcoming. And yeah, it was just a beautiful place. The beaches are stunning. The food is great. It's very hearty. It's like going, it's just the French countryside, and it's absolutely stunning. You have these stonework buildings, and everything's it's very beautiful. So I was very surprised, even just upon entering into Normandy, going through these beautiful stone villages and, seeing the countryside.
Great. Do you have any logistics to talk about, or do you want to start just right into the itinerary here?
Well, getting to Normandy, you're probably going to need to fly into Paris, and then from there, rent a car. And if you're like us, so day one, I'll just get right into it. Day one, I rented a car from Gare de Lyon because we flew into Paris and we spent our first day in Paris. And instead of going back to the airport, which is about an hour from downtown Paris, if you take the train, and renting a car there, we ended up renting it from Gare de Lyon, which means I had to drive through Paris to get out of the city. And we accidentally missed a turn that would take us a little bit more direct from Gare de Lyon to the highway to get out of Paris. Because I missed that turn, I had to drive through Paris. And because we were heading west, we had to go through the roundabout at Arc de Triomphe, which was terrifying. Especially in a rental car and in a country where I'm not fluent. Like, I can speak some French. I'm not fluent.
Were you shouting at people, or what did the speech aspect have to do with
that?
Well,
I just like obviously some of the road rules are different. And like, if I get pulled over, I don't know if I could have an intelligent conversation with a police officer of what I'm doing and like all of that. And I don't know, I was just very nervous, but we got onto the Arc de Triomphe, and the Arc de Triomphe is one of the largest roundabouts in the world, and it follows the old French rule of première droite, which means the priority is actually given to people turning right onto the roundabout, not the people already in the roundabout.
That is chaos to me.
Which it felt like it. Yeah, there's no lines, so you didn't have a lane. You just kind of, it felt like chaos to me. I'm sure everyone there knew what they were doing and it seemed fine. But I was terrified and it was very crowded, and I'm sure I got honked at a few times. There was a lot of honking just in general, but I got around it. I survived it. My sister laughed at me the whole time as I was like freaking out. But yeah, so that was fun to drive around Arc de Triomphe and try not to die in the process. And then we went to Giverny, which is about an hour once you get through Paris traffic outside the city. And we got to explore Monet's garden. So there is some parking near Giverny. You can walk to his gardens. You can see his burial site. You can see his old house. You can walk into the village as well. We ended up walking to the house and visiting the gardens and walking around the lily ponds, which were in full bloom. So it was absolutely stunning. All the flowers were in bloom. They have arranged their plants, their flowers and stuff in Giverny to have some sort of blooming year round, which is great. Obviously, spring is going to be one of the best times to visit for blooms, but we went in early September, and it was also very beautiful. Lots of wildflowers and things like that. It also abuts a farm, so there were cows next to it, which was funny. And it was just very, very beautiful walking around the gardens. There's beautiful willow trees, the gorgeous little footbridges, and it looks stunning. I could see how you would want to make it into a painting. And then also we got to explore the house, which had lots of examples of Monet's work, some famous paintings of his, as well as some of his inspiration with other artists and art around the house as well. And then we had lunch while we were there. where we got to enjoy a little bit of cider and some delicious food. And then from there, we hopped back in the car and we went to a place called Chateau Gaillard. And this is in a small little town, okay? And I found this just in my research. And it is an old castle that was built by Richard the Lionheart. All right. So you have some history of him and stuff back in Normandy as well. And so we explored the castle. It was a bit of a hike from the parking lot to get up there, but the views are stunning because you have a view overlooking the Seine and the tiny little town below. And then you have the ruins of this beautiful castle that you can walk around and get photos of and stuff. So we ended up exploring there. And then we went down to the village below and walked around the village because it was very cute. It had a beautiful main square with a cathedral. And most little towns in France kind of have a cathedral in the middle of town with the main square and then houses around it. And that's sort of a town in France. So that was cute to explore. And then from there, we went to Rouen. Yeah, for the evening. And we got there. And actually, Rouen is a sister city of Cleveland. And I actually, when I booked our hotel for the night, someone had reached out to me he owns his own hotel as well and he also helps out the hotel we were staying at, Hotel Cardinal, and said that because we're sister cities, that artists from both city went to the other city a while ago and painted murals in the other city. So in Cleveland, there's this beautiful mural outside of Market Garden, if you're on West 25th in Cleveland, that has little like clouds that look like eggs and different things like that. That is painted by the artist from Rouen.
Okay.
And then we also did a mural in Rouen. And then there's also the reason why there's...
Did you see the mural?
I didn't get to see the mural.
Why?
We really didn't have a lot of time there. But there's a big reason why we are sister cities because I believe it was World War I that the Lakeside Unit Hospital from Cleveland helped out at in Rouen. And in their city hall, there's a memorial plaque that I did find dedicated
you did
to
send me a picture of
the
that.
Lakeside Unit that helped out.
What an
during the war.
amazing story.
Yeah, and we met this guy. His name's George, and he was so nice. He owns this hotel. He showed us around the hotel, which the artist, I think her name's Lisa Quinn.
Okay.
He showed us the room that she had decorated based on like Cleveland stuff.
Oh, how
and
cool.
The reason why he reached out to me is that she had made a puzzle about Cleveland, and he was like, is there any way you could, like, if that'll fit in your suitcase, if you could just bring it to me? And we met, and he was so sweet. We got a drink with him and just talked to him for a long time, and we talked about how I guess lots of Cleveland chefs had gone over there for a certain event, and like they do a lot of things being sister cities. And he was so knowledgeable. It was a lot of fun. Not that you would include this on your road trip, but
you should after visiting Cleveland.
I think it was Hotel de Europe in Rouen. It was a lovely hotel. It was very much decorated. All the rooms had different themes, and a lot of famous like French artists, like French like singers and actors and stuff have stayed there. So there's lots of photos on the walls, and he has like a rock and roll room, and he has the Cleveland room, and he has like all these different rooms, and they're so cool. So highly recommend that too. But he was very, very nice, and we swapped a lot of stories about Cleveland and Rouen, and it was great.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
That's like one of those moments that is like the reason you travel. You know,
Yes.
like you're so far from this other person, but like they could be right down the road. Like the conversation flows naturally. You have something in common, and it's wonderful. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then we just got dinner in Rouen, and we watched the cathedral because at night during the summertime, they have a big art show on the cathedral that plays music and lots of different pictures and stuff on it. And it's really, really cool. It lasts for 30 minutes, and it's 2 different shows that happened during that time. And it was just really cool. And we got to watch that, and they had an interactive one too. So you could like scan the QR code and then interact with it so that you could kind of participate in the music. So all really, really cool. We had trouble making ours work, but if you're able to make it work, our phones were all kind of messed up while we were over there because we tried to eSIM and it didn't work well. But yes, so really, really fun exploring Rouen and getting to talk with him. So that's day 1. Day 1 seems pretty action-packed.
Day 1 was packed.
Day 1 was. We did have an early morning. We picked up the rental car at 10. All right, so that's just day one. It seems action-packed, but it actually went, it was a good pace.
It went so slowly.
No, it was a good pace. Like, I didn't feel like I was rushed at the gardens. I didn't feel rushed at the chateau, like the castle. And then Rouen was very lovely. All right, day two. Day two, we got up, we got some coffee and a little breakfast. We did wander around. That was when I did go see the memorial at City Hall, so I did not do that on day one because it had closed by the time we got to Rouen. But yeah, so walked around the city a little bit, saw that memorial, and then we were off to our next destination, where we ended up driving up to Etretat. And I don't know if you guys have seen Lupin. It is a French show on Netflix. It's actually based upon the stories by Maurice Leblanc. Sorry, I almost said Matt LeBlanc from Friends, not Maurice Leblanc, who was an author who lived in Etretat. He created this character. He's like a man of mystery, the gentleman burglar, that sort of thing. So it's a famous, popular book series in France. But he's based in Etretat, and the Netflix series is sort of a modern take on that. You can get it. You can watch it dubbed in English. It's such a good show.
Really good show.
Really good. It's awesome. I highly recommend it. And I saw that in season 2 they went to Etretat, which is known for its beautiful beach with the limestone cliffs and the limestone arches into the sea. So we went up to Etretat for the day, and we walked around the beach promenade, as well as got lunch there along the beach, which was lovely, walked along the beach, and then we hiked up to the cliff. There's a little trail that you can take. There's also a golf course up there, so if you really want to go golfing, you'll have beautiful views. But we walked up that path, and you kind of walk along the trail for a bit, and you see 2 arches, which are awesome, as well as the Needle, which is the rock that's sort of jutting straight up out of the water like a needle. So it's really, really cool to check that out and to go hiking around. And we just sort of spent the day exploring Etretat. We also went to the museum, which was Maurice Leblanc's former residence. It had lots of fun interactive things, or it had a fun audio guide with stories from Lupin and Arsène Lupin, the gentleman burglar, and different things like that. And it was a cool house to visit. So we did that. And then we, after that, departed from Etretat and made a quick stop into Honfleur just to see the harbor. So we sort of walked around the beautiful harbor of Honfleur, which is very well known for that. And then we ended the evening driving into Deauville, which is where my friend Elise is from. And I was very excited to explore Deauville because of that. And so we went and we stayed there at Villa Aiguival, or Augeville. I don't know how to pronounce it perfectly, but Aiguival is how I've been pronouncing it, Villa Aiguival. And it is a hotel and spa, so it's very, very lovely. I think I used points for this one. We got there, and it was a beautiful room. They have a heated pool. They have a spa. It's great. But we got there for the night, and then we went to Le Jardin for dinner, which had some great seafood, which we partook in. And they're very well known for their Café Gourmand. And if you don't know what a Café Gourmand is, it is basically a little sampler of all these tiny little desserts with a side of coffee, which you can get decaf as well. So if you can't decide what you want for dessert, you order a Café Gourmand. So we split it because they're known for it, and they have a huge Café Gourmand. There was cannelé, there was macaron, there was, just all kinds, crème brûlée, all sorts of things all over this thing. And then it also came with a little calvados, which is their apple brandy in Normandy. So quite a lot. We were very full. And then we went to bed from there because that was quite a meal and Café Gourmand.
Talk about the apple brandy. Is it like in the States how there's that green apple candy flavor? Mm-hmm. Is that what you're getting, or is it a different type of apple flavor?
Well, let's get into day 3 because I can talk more about it there.
Day 3, please.
Yes. So day 3 from Deauville, we decided to partake on the Cider Route, or the Route de Cidre. Because, again, Normandy is very, very well known for their apples. It's not really the right climate for growing grapes and wine and making wine and that sort of thing. So instead, they make apples. They grow apples, all sorts of different kinds, and they make cider, apple cider vinegar, apple juice, Calvados, which is their apple brandy, as well as Pommeau, which is a mix of apple juice and their apple brandy. So we stopped at quite a few places along the cider route. It's really, I would suggest maybe planning it out ahead of time, but honestly, if you get on the cider route, there are signs for it when you go through towns, and you can follow it and see the different farms along the way. You don't need to make reservations. Most of these tastings are free, and then you just purchase, I usually, because it's free, I tend to purchase a bottle of it or something, because you can get the Cider Route, which is like maybe 1 or 2% alcohol. It's very low. You could buy apple juice, apple cider vinegar, etc., or their regular cider, the Cider Route, which is a little bit higher percentage of like 4 or 5%. But so you can explore the beautiful, beautiful Cider Route, which is a lot of fun. And I think I'll probably do a whole episode about the Cider Route because it was really cool.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. But we stopped. I think we ended up going to 5 cider places along the way because tastings are pretty quick. But almost every single one of them makes all of these products. So I know we did Pierre Huet, and then we also went to the Jardins de Pays Auge during that too. So we went to the gardens next to it. And they're very well known for their Calvados. And then we actually did a guided tour in English at the Chateau de Breuil. And that's very well known for their cider and their, or especially their Calvados. And so we learned about the whole process where it's basically you're making an apple brandy. It depends on the flavor. It is aged in barrels. So the younger it is, the more fiery it's gonna feel, but it does have more of like that apple cinnamony flavor, but it's not sweet, if that makes sense.
So it's more apple cinnamon than green apple.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Especially the longer it ages. Sometimes they'll age it for 15, 20, 25 plus years.
Oh, wow.
And it'll get darker because it takes on the color of the barrel and some of that
Sure.
some of the flavor from the barrel that it's aged in. I brought home an 8-year one, so it's still fairly clear.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it definitely gets more depth of flavor as it gets older and ages versus the younger ones, which are a little bit stronger feeling and tasting than the ones that are a little bit more mellow. But
okay.
yeah, it's their apple brandy. It's very delightful. It's mostly a digestive, so it's something that you drink after dinner with dessert, and it actually really goes well with dessert because it's a little sweet, so it's really good with that something sweet for dessert. So it's not something you want to have as like a cocktail before dinner, but it is something you can make cocktails out of it. I know Chateau de Breuil is like one of the famous Calvados distilleries, and they distill a lot of other liquors as well, but they have different flavors. They make cocktails at their bar out of Calvados, so you can certainly check that out while you're there.
Nice.
Yeah, so basically we went along the cider route this day, which I'll get into more detail in another episode. But after a couple of stops on the cider route, we had lunch at Au Petit Gourmand, or Normandy, which had typical food of Normandy. So we had like a fried livarot, which is a soft, bloomy rind cheese. And then we had like roasted potatoes and salad with it, which was really good there. And then we wrapped up the day on the way back, stopping in Pont-l'Evêque, which is also the name of a cheese, a bloomy rind cheese in Normandy. And so we stopped by a cheese shop and tried the different cheeses of Normandy and got some to take back with us. And we ended up eating dinner at the hotel where we had a baguette and some jam and the different cheeses that we had purchased and stuff there. So that was a lot of fun. So basically day 3 of our trip was the cider route. The Route de Cidre. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Day 4.
Day 4, it was, we got kind of lucky, kind of not with the weather. It turned out to be about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe closer to 40 degrees Celsius, while we were in Normandy, which is not normal. It's usually like 18 to 20 degrees normally Celsius, or about 60s, 70s normally. And so it was very hot. It was very sunny. Again, not very typical of Normandy. And so we actually spent day 4 having a beach day, but we did walk around that morning. It was a Saturday. We got to go to the farmer's market in Deauville. Very lovely. I purchased a lovely silk scarf and twilly there for my hair. And they had a lot of fish market stands because, again, it's right on the ocean. And then we ended up walking over to Trouville, which is actually just across the river from Deauville. So you just cross this bridge over a little river, and then you're in Trouville. And there's lots of great restaurants there, but they're very well known for their fish market. And what's really cool about this fish market is you have the fishermen, they come in, they bring in their catches of the day. You can certainly purchase fish to take home or seafood to bring home, but they also have tables there where you can just order it. You order what you'd like from the fish market there to the person. They will make it for you. You can get a sauce with it if you'd like. I think we got an aioli. Get a bottle of wine, and you sit down at the table. They bring it to your table, and I just could not be more fresh, the seafood. I mean, literally, it was caught maybe within that day by the fishermen who are now selling it to you, and they're preparing it, and you just get to have this delightful seafood.
That's incredible.
It's so fresh. It was so good. I think we got some shrimp, which was fantastic. We got our prawns. We got a crab. We split a crab, which was very delicious. And then we got whelks. So they're I think they're like these little tiny little conch shells, and I've never had them before, but we tried them there. It almost tastes like an escargot of the sea, if you will. It was good.
Good.
Yeah, so it was very, very fresh. We had some wine there. And after that, we changed because it was way too hot, and we went to the beach in Deauville.
Nice.
And we walked along the beach. There are beautiful old changing rooms with actors and directors' names because Deauville actually hosts the American Film Festival every year. And it was actually happening while we were there. And we had thought about going, but we were like, okay, well, I mean, it's American films we can see back home, and we want to see Deauville. You know what I mean?
Is this a sandy beach? Is it a rocky beach?
Sandy.
Okay.
And did you know in Normandy that they have the second highest changing of tides? Like the drastic change of tides. Number one is the Bay of Fundy in Canada.
Okay.
This one's second.
I did not know that.
So the drastic, we were there during low tide, so we ended up renting a beach, umbrella and chairs and stuff at a beach club because, I don't know, it's kind of nice to order and get your drinks and food brought to you and having a specific seat, and you can sit in the shade. Well, it was also a lot cheaper. It was €45 for the two of us to do this versus in Cannes, where it's typically €75.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Per person.
Oh my gosh.
So
and this was 45 total?
Total.
Wow.
Maybe it's a little bit more during the height of summer, but it was 45 total, and then we were able to get drinks, and the drinks and food weren't overpriced either, so it was great. So we hung out there, and we swam in the ocean for a bit. It's not as clear of water as the South of France, so the Mediterranean's much calmer. This is the English Channel, so it's the Atlantic Sea, or Atlantic Ocean, so it's a little bit murkier. It's not too bad, but it was pretty popular that day since it was a Saturday in the 90s weather-wise and sunny, so there was lots of families and people out swimming. Very beautiful. We had a lot of fun swimming, soft sandy beaches. We got to see the famous bright blue colored Deauville lifeguard stand. It's very iconic. But yeah, so walking past there are all these little changing rooms, these old-fashioned changing rooms with American actors and directors' names on them because of the American Film Festival. And there's American flags out too because they were celebrating the film festival. But yeah, just beaching it that day. And it was funny because I was like, man, it's such a hike from our chairs to go to the beach. But that's because we were there during low tide. During high tide, it comes in very close. Maybe not all the way up to the beach chairs, but it comes up to the lifeguard stand and things like that. Or it can.
Okay.
Depending. So day 3 was essentially exploring Deauville, the Trouville fish market, the farmer's market, and beach day. All right, that's day 4.
I was going to say, I thought that was day 4.
Day 1 was Giverny and Rouen and all that. Day 1 was Rouen, Giverny. Day 2 was Etretat, heading to Deauville. Day 3 was the Cider Route. Day 4 is the beaches in Deauville and just hanging out. Day 5, we got up very early and drove to Bayeux, which is known as the City of Miracles because it is one of the, it's known for, while many other cities and towns in that area were mostly flattened or destroyed during World War II, they were miraculously not. So a priest had told them hey, don't attack our city. We'll turn these over to you or whatever. So when the Americans came, or not the Americans, but when the Allied forces came. So beautiful, beautiful city, known for the Bayeux Tapestry, which I'll get into later, but it's a great place because we decided this day to go on a guided tour of the D-Day beaches because yes, the D-Day beaches are a popular place to visit for Americans, but I feel like we couldn't go to Normandy without going to see it. I'll have to do a whole other episode about it. This was a fantastic tour.
I was going to say the stories that you have told me, just do the highest of high level overviews.
Well, we went with Orpheus tours or Orpheus tours.
Okay.
We had Matt Turner. If you get him, he's a Yorkshireman, very proud Yorkshireman. Him and his Irish wife now live in Normandy, near the D-Day beaches and all that. Fantastic storyteller. Like I think World War II history is fascinating, but like after this tour, I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to know more. Like he did such a great job. We'll talk more about it later, but it was a fantastic tour. We went to Utah Beach, Omaha Beach, which are known for having the Americans part of the Allied forces land.
Was it all day or a half day?
All day. Highly recommend an all day tour.
Okay.
Yes. And then we went to Pointe du Hoc and Sainte Marie d'Église and all that stuff. So I'll have to talk about that a whole other time because I could go on and on about the great stories that this man told. But yes, highly recommend that tour with that guide if you get there. So Orpheus Tours with Matt Turner.
Awesome.
Fantastic. All right. So basically most of that day was doing that. And then we wrapped up and we're hanging out in Bayeux and just explored Bayeux that night and had dinner there.
Okay.
That's pretty much it for day 5.
Day 6.
Day 6. So day 6 was... we woke up, we got breakfast in Bayeux, and we went to go see the Bayeux Tapestry. So that's at the Bayeux Tapestry Museum. It is a gigantic, I want to say 75-meter long tapestry. It's almost 1,000 years old.
That is incredible.
And it describes the events of William the Conqueror, the Norman that basically conquered England and took over and that sort of thing. Huge battle with England. The Battle of Hastings in 1066 was when William the Conqueror took over. But it's basically... It goes from like basically him being named as the heir of England to like him winning the battle. There's a whole big story of it. I highly recommend going. You get the audio guide for sure because it'll tell you each of the stages of the tapestry and it really helps you get to know everything that's going on with this tapestry because the whole thing is a big story. So highly recommend doing that. It does not take that long to go through. There's more parts of that museum, but we really just had time for the tapestry. Highly recommend. Then from there, we did the long drive to Mont St Michel. And so we went all the way out to Mont St Michel, which is known as having this beautiful abbey on top of a tidal island. And so the tidal island is essentially during low tide, it's part of the land, it's marshy and stuff, which was when we went, but during high tide, it is an island. I mean, it's crazy to see how drastic the tide changes because it'll be like it looked like marshland. And then you could tell a little bit later in the afternoon, the water was starting to come back in, but by midnight, it would be a full island.
How do you get there? Is there like a boardwalk?
There's a bridge.
Okay.
And so most of the year you can get to it, but apparently spring tides, like they have spring tides event, is like sometimes where it is even like bigger and you can't even get there at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that doesn't happen that often, but yeah, for the most part, you can get there via the bridge over there. So you park, walk over the bridge, walk around the town of Mont St Michel. It's very touristy. It's tourist restaurants, tourist shops packed with tourists.
Really?
Yeah. So it was kind of disappointing. But then we did book tickets in advance, which I recommend doing to go see the Abbey. And the views from the Abbey are really, really cool.
Are there any people that live there or is it purely like people are going there to visit?
It feels like most people are there to visit.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's a working church, so I don't know. Maybe people come there for Sunday Mass. I'm not really sure because it definitely looked like it was set up for church services or something.
Okay.
But yeah, so we went and explored the Abbey. It was cool. The views were amazing. The pictures are stunning of Mont St Michel. But I was like I feel like it's kind of overrated, especially compared to the day before because we did this amazing tour. Maybe a guided tour of Mont St Michel would have brought more context and would have been better. I know that it was built because someone had a vision about St. Michael being on that island and they built this abbey for it, but it just seemed very like Disney, Disney World, because just seems like it was built like it's mostly tourists, food for tourists, shops for tourists. It just didn't feel authentic. And after going to the Pope's Palace in Avignon or even Senanac Abbey in the Luberon, where they give you these awesome like histopads that show you, you kind of wave it around like a QR code and then it shows you what the room used to look like and more information. I thought that was a really cool thing that they did. They don't do that at Mont St Michel. So you don't really get the extra context. So I would say either do it with a tour or, I mean, it was fun to go and walk around and take photos, but I wouldn't say it's like, I don't know. I don't need to do it again, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I'm glad I saw it, but I don't need to do it again.
Okay.
So after Mont St Michel, we went to this beautiful little tiny place in the middle of the country, or in the countryside, to a chateau called Château de Deauville. Iville. Not evil. And it's this beautiful, gorgeous chateau, and that's where we stayed for our last 2 nights. So we spent the night there, explored the local town, and then the next day, so our final day of our Normandy road trip before we went back to Paris the next day, we went to the cheese museum of the Maison du Camembert in Camembert, which, if you guys like brie, it's similar to brie. It's a little bit stronger. It's another soft, bloomy cheese. And it was a really good museum. So you got to learn about the origins of it, how it became popular. It was actually a priest from Brie taught Marie Herrel. She was a farmer, how to make this bloomy rind cheese. So she perfected the Camembert and like created it. And then it was in World War II rations for French soldiers. So that's how it got even more famous.
And what is the cheese?
Camembert.
I could listen to you say that all day.
And so it was cool. And then at the end, you get to see the actual factory of them making the cheese. So it was really neat.
That's
and then
really
you get
neat.
free samples at the end of Camembert.
Really good?
They were really good. So they give you a pasteurized, unpasteurized, and a half pasteurized, half un.
What was your favorite?
I actually liked the half and half a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite. But
did it go from like pasteurized was least funky to unpasteurized was like funky?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I like
you
funky
like
cheese.
a funky cheese.
I do, but like
was it too funky?
It was like, this is just a weird me thing too, but it was too much cheese to bread ratio. You know what I mean? Like it was a lot of like just eating straight up soft cheese. And I like to spread it.
You're a soft cheese gal.
I am, but I like to spread it on the bread. Like I kind of take the soft cheese like that and like spread it like butter on my bread and then eat it like that.
Oh.
So it kind of like squeamed me out. I don't know how to describe it. Like eating this huge block on top of a tiny little piece of bread.
Okay.
So I probably would have liked it if I could have if it was like a smaller amount on the bread cheese ratio was right.
Soft cheese gal, but too much of it scares you.
The girls that get it. You need the right cheese to bread ratio.
What is that? Is that something from TikTok?
It's a TikTok thing.
I am not one of the girls who gets it.
Yeah. So, yeah, after that, we mostly just hung out. We explored the little village nearby, Château de Deauville. And the little village is called Saint-Pierre-sur-Dives. It's such a cute town. They have an old medieval market that you could explore that is open on Monday mornings. We weren't there during a Monday morning, but it was cute. You can still walk through it. And then they also have like an old tanner's quarter where it has little like windmill or little mills. And so it's really, really cute to just walk around this little town. And then we just had dinner at Au Petit Normand again, which wasn't that far. And then the next day we woke up, had breakfast at the chateau, and which was lovely. We also enjoyed the amenities that afternoon, like their pool and their gardens and stuff. And the next day we woke up and went back to Paris. So just a quick recap. Day 1, driving from Paris. Don't recommend driving through Arc de Triomphe if you can avoid it around that area. We went to Giverny. We went to Chateau Galliard. And then we went to Rouen. Day 2 is Etretat, Honfleur, and Deauville. Day 3 was the Cider Route. Day 4 was Deauville exploring. Day 5 was Bayeux and the D-Day Beaches tour. Day 6 was Mont St Michel, heading to the countryside. And then day 7 was the Saint-Pierre-sur-Dives, exploring the town, the Maison du Camembert, and exploring and just enjoying time in the countryside at Château de Deauville.
All right.
Yeah.
What was the best thing you ate in this week?
Okay. I think the best thing I ate was in the tiny town of Saint-Pierre-sur-Dives, and it was at Logis les Agriculteurs, and I got a smoked duck breast as like an appetizer with some foie gras, some hack etouffee, which was very delicious, and it was served with like little like mashed potato, purple mashed potato, garlic mashed potato things on the side, and then this beautiful raspberry dessert with a sponge cake. And it was absolutely delicious. So
just that whole meal was the best. That whole
meal was very good. I would say that also the cheese was great. I really enjoyed Au Petit Normand for their crispy potatoes and their fried Livarot cheese.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the best thing that you drank during this trip?
I actually really enjoyed the Calvados
Okay.
because I kind of got cidered out because it's very sweet. Calvados is a little bit less so.
Okay.
So I'd say the Calvados was very good,
Nice.
especially the older. If you could try the older versions, very good.
A little more spicy.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a couples travel podcast.
Yes.
What was the most romantic part of this week? Like what would be the like if you are going to go there as a couple, what's the most romantic thing out of this week, this itinerary?
I would say exploring Deauville. It's a very beautiful town. It's so charming and cute. You've got the fish market over next door in Trouville, and the beaches are great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Paris is a very popular honeymoon destination.
Mm-hmm.
Would visiting Normandy, if it's your honeymoon and you're going to Paris, would you recommend going up to Normandy, or would you say enjoy Paris? Normandy is going to be a return trip, like a couple's trip, but not your honeymoon. Do you know what I mean?
It depends on how long you have in Paris. If you have a week, do 4 days in Paris, maybe do 3 days exploring Deauville or Etretat and Bayeux for the D-Day beaches. We actually saw a couple on their honeymoon on our tour.
At the D-Day beaches.
At the D-Day beach tour. I would recommend that if you're a history buff, like if you're a couple that's a history buff, but I would say that if you don't have a whole lot of time, definitely just stick with Paris.
Okay.
But if you have extra time, I would say, especially for romance, Etretat and Deauville were absolutely lovely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that's it. That's Normandy. That's how to spend a whole week road tripping around Normandy. It is more than the D-Day beaches, more than Mont St Michel. It is a stunning, stunning, beautiful place in France, and I absolutely loved it. So yeah, if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, you can always reach us on pretty much all social media at Worldwide Honeymoon, except for Twitter, which is X, which is WW Honeymoon, or you can email kat@worldwidehoneymoon.com. But thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to rate and review our podcast. It takes less than a few minutes and really helps other people find us. Also, if you're enjoying this awesome free information on both the blog and podcast, when you're booking your next trip, head over to worldwidehoneymoon.com/resources and use the links provided. We earn a small commission at no cost to you when you book through these links, and these are all brands and companies we know, love, and use, like Skyscanner for finding the best flight prices, World Nomads for the best travel insurance, TripAdvisor for hotel bookings and reviews, and even Amazon for all of your travel purchases.
Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Wherever you are, wherever you go, remember to make every day a worldwide honeymoon.